Here he is, the man himself, Noel Fehily, alongside me. 27 Grade 1 wins in the saddle as a rider, and the first of many back earlier last month. No, this month. We're still in January, aren't we? Just about. With an excellent performance at Sandown. That was a great day, a double for your team. Noel Fehily Racing Syndicate.
Yes, yeah, brilliant day. There are two, I suppose, best horses now, and it was a big day going to Sandown. Love Envoi for the mares listed, and Timuris for the Grade 1, and it was only our second ever runner in the Grade 1, and yeah, lovely to win at Tolworth Hurdle.
They are a serious team of horses you got this year. Like I think we're going to be talking to Ollie Greenland and Josh Guerrero later on, and a big part of their setup is syndicates. And I think we see, you see obviously syndicates winning big races. There's an element of fun about it. I feel like you really, with your syndicates, embody both. Like we always see you on the racecourse having a great time. Dave Cross is a big part of that. Yes. But my goodness me, you got some good horses this year. We have.
We set out, myself and David, to buy nice horses, and obviously. Syndicates, you're trying to sell your shares, but we wanted horses to go to the better meetings. It doesn't always work out, but that was always the aim, to have horses good enough to go to the better meetings. And we bought some young, sort of improving horses, and this year I think we got a good bunch. Yeah, we got hopefully a couple good enough to go to Cheltenham Festival, don't
you? Yeah, it looks that way. Definitely looks that way. So I think when a rider stops riding, you sort of go, well, were they going to training? Which you sort of are point-to-point wise, but we'll come to that. Will they go into training? Do they want to go on the TV side of things? But syndicate manager isn't necessarily something that a lot of people have done or do. What led you down that path?
I think anyone that knows me knew I wasn't going to go down the television route anyway. I'm not very good in front of a camera, but it was something that was mentioned, and then David Cross mentioned it to me, and look, we've been good pals for years, and he mentioned about it. He knew a bit more about it than I did, and I was kind of half listened to the idea, wasn't sure, and then we went and had a meeting with Mark Ball, who obviously used to run Let's Live Racing, and he's been absolutely brilliant, helped us along the way, and we decided we'd give it a go, a couple of horses. We started out, we bought a horse called Pride of the Kale, Fergal Brian had. And I actually ridden him over hurdles twice, I think. So we bought him to start with, and then we bought another horse called Grey Scholar. So they were the first two horses in a two-horse syndicate. And Pride of the Kale won first time out. Unfortunately, the Grey Scholar got badly injured on his first start, which was the ups and downs within a couple of weeks. But kind of went from there. We never thought we'd get to big numbers, but it was kind of, we started out having a bit of fun with a couple of horses, get a few people involved, and it's kind of grown from there.
So at what point does it transition from being fun to being, a fully fledged operational business? Which it has to be, right? Because ultimately you're also in this to make money, right?
Yes,
that's how it works.
Yeah, no, definitely. It has to be business, but it has to be fun. You have to have fun. And that's one thing. David's brilliant at keeping everyone very informed of what's going on. We get people. It's not just the day on the race course. We get them down to the yards to see the horses in training. We have a golf day. We have an owners' day, summer party in the summertime. So the owners have to have fun. They have to feel part of it. And I don't think it works if you just tell them the horse is running and it turn up on the day at the races, because more often than not, the horses get beat at the day of the race and it's disappointment. So they have to have fun along the way as well, and I think that's very important.
So can I just ask you about how many per syndicate and that sort of thing? Do you have any hard and fast rules? Is it a case of, does it depend on how much each horses cost? I mean, is there an ultimate goal per horse for how many people, etc.?
Always 10 people. We only do 10% shareholders. So it's 10 people in every horse, and it's 10% of whatever the horse cost, and then a monthly fee on top of that, and that seems to work well. We wouldn't want to dilute it anymore by having 20, 50 people involved in a horse. I think 10 works well. They can feel, part of it then, and you can keep them well informed. And that's the way it's always 10. That works well for us.
And as far as buying the horses and money you're spending, if you see the right horse and you want it, great. Or do you have a maximum you go to, a minimum sort of price bracket?
Yeah, obviously we're not in the the big price range, the big brackets. So we're buying, like, Timuris was 67,000, Love Envoi was 38,000, and I suppose that's kind of like 60, 70,000. That's kind of our mainly. I suppose the majority of our horses on average would have cost probably, our average price would be around 50 to 60 grand. So that's kind of probably our level, and it's you can sell shares at that level, and hopefully you can find nice horses at that level.
And you were saying to me off air then, it's unbelievable really that you and Dave have ended up working together, because you never liked him.
never liked him.
No.
No, didn't like him.
No.
No, it's gone well. No, it's gone well. It's gone well.
So yesterday Dave was at Cheltenham, and he knew you were coming in. He was like, "Give me your number. I'll think of some things."
Probably ringing you.
You can stitch him up. I'll think of some things to say, and you can get after him.
Yeah,
we'll
I'll leave that.
Yeah. I'll leave
Turn your phone
everything he sent to me. I'll leave for another day.
Turn your phone off. Yeah.
But you get on well, clearly.
Yeah, get on well, and he's as I said, he's very good at the social media side of it and keeping everyone very well informed. He never stops talking, so it works well, and good team together, I think.
All right, we'll stay on the syndicate horses for now. So, because people are going to want to know where they're going to run. So, Timuris, brilliant winner, part of the double on the 7th of January. Where does he go?
He goes for the Supreme. That's the plan. He has an entry in the Ballymore as kind of a backup plan, but at the moment, Paul Nichols is very happy to go for the Supreme, so that's the plan. And
you won this race riding Somerville Boy, who went on to take a Supreme.
Yes.
Is it just too obvious to try and take out similarities between them?
I think he is a similar. I think Timuris is a much better jumper. Everyone's crabbing his jumping because he missed the last 2 hurdles of sand.
I love you saying he's a much better jumper, as we've just shown that.
He is a good jumper.
Flattened it, go on.
That ground was horrendous that day, and I think he didn't actually enjoy it. And I think up that hill at Sandown, Harry was not wanting to go to the front too soon, and he's just got under the last 2 hurdles and he's kicked them out of the ground. But in the whole, he's a very good jumper. If you watch his Chepstow run and his Haydock run, jumping was his strong point. He actually winged hurdles that day. So I've absolutely no worries about his jumping. If he's good enough, we'll find out on the day, but jumping won't be a problem.
Have you sat on him?
I've ridden him, yeah.
And is that part of what you do as the syndicate, that you will always sit on them?
Yeah, we do. Obviously, the ones that come from the sales, you can't sit in them beforehand, but if we buy horses in this country and they're in a trainer's yard, we always try and go and sit in them. I'd sit in them, David would sit in them, and we'd have our opinions. But even when we buy one at the sales, we bought one last night at the sales at Cheltenham, and we get that back. David's actually riding that as we speak, probably. We try and sit in them. They come back to my place, we sit in them, we ride them a bit, and then we decide what's a route, where we see them fitting in, and we decide what trainer they're going to go to, and sell the shares, and away we go.
The funny thing about that horse, and in a way Somerville Boy, and the Tolworth on testing ground, if it is a test, was you might think, okay, it's a stayer at the trip, would go up in distance. But with your experience of the Cheltenham Festival and the Supreme, as opposed to the Ballymore, does it almost not suit a stayer more than the Ballymore? But that opening race at Cheltenham, you've got to be a strong stayer at the distance, right? Yeah,
you have to be a good stayer. And he's actually quite a good traveller, but you have to stay. I wasn't sure going to Cheltenham with Somerville Boy that he was going to be quick enough for a Supreme. But actually, he was probably... He just about travelled through the race. He was nearly in top gear all the way, but he stayed really well. And he came home strong and just got up on the line. And I think you need a horse that probably stays further than 2 miles. Like, Timuris will stay 2.5 miles, probably stay at 3 miles in time. So, you've no problem with him staying. But he does travel well enough to go Supreme pace, and I think you do need a horse that finishes strong, and hopefully that's him.
And Love Envoy's been fab this year. It feels like, speaking to Harry, I spoke to him, was it Sandown before Christmas? Anyway, he had everything mapped out, or you guys had everything mapped out. You sort of known where you wanted to go all year, haven't you?
Yeah, we didn't know the first run because ground-wise she had a couple of options, and she ended up starting at Sandown because we didn't get the ground in the previous. She was meant to go to Ascot, I think she was.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
Right.
And then the Sandown race was a week or two later, and we decided to wait for that because the ground was only just starting to turn. But apart from there on,
in January.
This was always the plan before she even ran first time. the 7th of January was always in the notebook, and then the Warwick race, and then Cheltenham. That's kind of they're the obvious races for her, and so far so good.
Yeah, she's been great, hasn't she? You must be desperate to get that Grade 1 with her.
Yes.
Well, not desperate, but she deserves it, doesn't she?
She does. She's only ran in one Grade 1. She finished second behind Brandy Love in Ireland at the end of a long season last season. And we'll probably meet Brandy Love at Cheltenham again. But look, it'd be great if we can get a Grade 1 win. She goes to Cheltenham. I think we're a live contender, and hopefully she will get a Grade 1 by her name at some stage.
How good was Cheltenham?
Unbelievable. Everything just seemed to fall right. We declared her on the when was it, on the Monday, wasn't it? Or the Tuesday we declared her, and Tuesday morning we declared her, and the ground was quick. Tuesday's racing at the festival, breaking track record, and we're thinking we might not even get to run her. And then the heavens opened on the Wednesday.
Didn't it?
Like, it was just
a bit.
Like, it was rain forecast, but nothing like what came. It all just seemed to fall right. But we still thought, just having a runner at Cheltenham was just massive. But to think you'd have a winner, it was just beyond your wildest dreams.
What was it like for the 10 in the syndicate? And they'd just be, I don't want to say normal people, that sounds terrible, but they'd just be racing fans, syndicate members.
Just normal people, and they
rocking up to Cheltenham and they have a winner.
Some of them were never involved in a horse before, and first time, and it was to have a runner at Cheltenham. They were happy with a runner at Cheltenham, as most people would be. But to see her coming down the hill and you're jumping the second last and she's coming up there, you're thinking, God, this could actually happen. Yeah. But you just keep thinking something's going to go wrong, because to get a winner, I know how hard it is to get winners at Cheltenham Festival, but she's just been brilliant. She's a brilliant mare, and she's done wonders for us.
If it was good ground, would that worry you?
I don't think 2.5 miles. I wouldn't want to see it on the quicker side of good, but I think if it's on the slower side of good, I'd be happy enough.
I mean, it rarely is it?
Yeah,
on that day?
That would be. I wouldn't want to see it on the quicker side of good, but 2.5 miles. Like, she's winning over 2. She's winning over 2.5. It all seems to come the same to her. But I think as long as it's on the slow side of good, safe ground, I'd be happy enough.
Okay. Is Hansard going to go at the festival?
Hansard will go to the Dovecot. I think it's about the 26th of February. So the timing is tight enough, but he has an entry in the Supreme, so we'll see. But I think he's more likely to bypass Cheltenham and go to Aintree. That would be the plan at the moment, I think.
Okay. And this is an example of how many different trainers you're using now as well.
Yes, this is Hansard's trained by Gary Moore, Jamie riding him there. And look, he's been a fantastic horse this year. He's won his 2 novice hurdles. And hopefully he can carry it on to the Dovecot.
Was that something you always wanted to do then, to go to lots of different trainers?
Yeah, I think it works well to spread them out. I think we've got about 15 or 16 different trainers now, and that works well. There's a couple of more trainers we need to find horses for, but look, I like having them spread about. It suits some people if they're living in a certain area, they want to get involved in a horse in that area. So it works well that way.
You're training pointers now, just a couple. Obviously gearing up to take over all the syndicate horses at some point.
No, that won't be happening.
That was a Dave Cross.
That was definitely a Dave Cross line.
It was.
No,
absolute stitcher.
I have two old horses. Pride of Lacale, actually, which is our first ever syndicate horse, and he won first time out for us. He's retired, and he's going to have a run in the Pint of Pint. They run today, actually. I have a young lad, Dan Williams, works for me. He's a good young lad, and it's just to give him a bit of experience and give him a bit of help along the way. Hopefully he'll be a future jockey.
Where are they running today?
Milburn St Andrews today.
So you're heading down there today?
Head down there today and see how he gets on.
Will you be nervous?
No, I won't. No, I'm very relaxed. So
yeah?
It's just a bit of fun. It's Dan's first ever ride. As long as he gets around safe and enjoys himself, that's all that matters.
Do you get nervous before the Noel Fehily Racing horses run?
I do. Yeah, especially on Sandown. I was walking my box a little bit, but yeah, I was much more relaxed when I was riding them than watching them, that's for sure.
So when you were riding them, because you're in control much more, I suppose, of what's happening during the race, whereas when you're watching, it's...
Yeah, when you're riding, I don't know, you are more in control, and I suppose, I never got overly excited riding them, but when you're watching them, once they leave the parade ring, I get fairly on edge up in the stands.
It is utterly terrifying. So
Yes.
when, you know, I've only been involved on a very small scale basis with other people with a very small amount of horses all over jumps. But there's something about when it's your horse, watching them jump hurdles or fences.
Yes.
It's first and foremost, there's a bit of terror in that. It's a very nerve-wracking experience. I would imagine, much more so than on the flat. I would imagine because of the jeopardy involved. I guess
Probably, yeah. But I think you want it to go well as well for everyone involved, and like I was very nervous watching Love Envoi the last day at Sandown because she's odds on. You want it to go right. You don't want any hiccups. Like she was kind of expected to win, and I was probably as nervous as I've ever been watching her because, you know, if it goes wrong, everyone's going to be disappointed, and it kind of ruins your plans for, you know, you don't want to get beat, and you're thinking, oh, what about Cheltenham? You know, you want to get to Cheltenham and have a chance. You know, so it's kind of out of your control, I suppose, and there's not a lot you can do about it. But you don't want to be disappointed for everyone else as well. Maybe that's probably quite a bit of it.
and it's different when you're the underdog compared to when you're all of a sudden sat right at the top of the betting.
And
you're
it's
expected to win.
Expected, yes.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of disappointed people.
I'm just going to take you back because I was at Cheltenham yesterday, and I was working with Lydia, and I was remembering when you announced your retirement. We'll discuss that. We'll have a look at it first of all.
Oh, don't play.
It's probably my last festival, so I enjoyed that.
Why is it going to be your last festival?
I think I'm probably getting a bit old for this job, so yeah, I think that'll be it now, I think.
Is that because of the health setbacks that you've been...
No, just, look, I'm not getting any younger, and it's a young man's game.
Oh no, you're going to make me cry. You really... When did you come to this decision?
I've probably been thinking about it for a couple of weeks, and I probably wasn't well for a while, and just, you know, as I saw, it's time to let everyone else get on, the young lads get on with it.
See, for us, that was. I think for us as racing fans to see that genuine emotion and just announce it like that. I remember it so well. It was so moving, and it was
Embarrassing.
No, but is it embarrassing for you to watch?
Yeah, it is embarrassing to watch. Yeah, but yeah, I kind of had decided. I'd spoken to my wife and kids about it in the lead up to Cheltenham, and hope if I got a Cheltenham Festival winner, you know, I probably would announce it. And I spoke to Chris Broad, he's my agent all the way through my career, and he was absolutely brilliant. We spoke about everything every day of the week, but I kind of had my mind made up. If I wrote a winner, I would announce it. But if I didn't write a winner, I probably would have carried on, and probably would have gone to Liverpool and finished the season out probably. Yeah. But I thought if I get a winner there, that I'll announce it, and that'll be it. And
was that your only win at that festival?
It was, and I fancied one or two others.
She was a prize, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was probably she was 50 to 1, I think, or 50 or 60 to 1. So I think I had a couple of others that I fancied a little bit more earlier on in the card, and I thought one of them might go in. They didn't go in, so I thought, well, it's not going to happen now, because, you know, she was 66 to 1 or whatever, and I'd won the day after, which was a big prize horse. But when you're riding for Willie Mullins, you never know, you have a chance. So she popped up, and I actually remember pulling up and thinking, God, I've decided I'm going to announce my retirement, and now do I really want to do it? Then actually, once I had said it, I knew it was the right thing to do, yeah.
How hard is it for a rider who is living and breathing the drug of racing and, you know, getting up each morning, something you've done for such a long time, to ride horses out, then go racing, to actually to utter those words, I'm done, and know the change in lifestyle that's coming?
It's hard. It is hard, because you've done it every day of the week, and yeah, it is hard. I remember Jim McCarthy was the coolest man in the Wareham, and I remember when he retired, it got him a little bit, and he was a bit emotional. I thought, Jesus, that's Jimmy McCarthy getting a bit. And he said to me, he said, when you retire, you'll get you as well. And I thought, no, I won't. But it does. It's difficult. You've done it every day of the week, and you live it, breathe it. It's all you think about from the minute you open your eyes in the morning, every day of the week. You know, so It is hard, yeah. It's hard when you walk away, but I knew it was the right thing to do, and I knew it was the right time to go as well.
Are you quite emotional as a rule, or not really? You can sort of take yourself out of emotion quite easy?
Not really, no. I suppose I'm getting older, maybe I'm getting a bit more emotional, maybe, I don't know.
But when you would if you rode say the first big winner, the first of the 27 Grade 1s or whatever, you wouldn't have been that emotional then?
No.
Right.
It was, it would have been part of the day job kind of thing.
What was the highlight of the whole career? How many years did it span?
20 seasons, I think. I did 20 years, yeah.
Was there one highlight?
People ask me that all the time, but it's very hard. Even people ask you what's your best horse you rode, but it's very hard to narrow it down because, like, I had great time. Sylvia Conti winning 2 King Georges. Yeah. I grew up watching Desert Orca winning the King George, and it's a massive race, and to win 2 King Georges was massive. And then any win you ride at Cheltenham Festival is massive. And
what is first of all, I love that you've singled out not a Cheltenham Festival moment. Because the King George is, as you say, it's the King George. What's Paul Nicholls' secret?
He gets his horses very fit and very ready at that time of year, I'd say, and sure, he's a master at training 3-mile chasers, and he's won all them big races over and over. But
what I think is amazing about that race in particular was he won it. What's he won it? 12 times, I think.
13 times.
Is it 13 now?
I think it could be, yeah.
But this year he won it, I think, only for the second time with a horse who hasn't won it multiple times. Yeah. Because he can just get him to come back for it and come back for it.
Yeah. He's a genius at getting to peak that time of year at the right time. Sure, look, his record speaks for itself. But he's won all them big 3-mile chases over and over, and he's just a master at it.
What was the Cheltenham where? And it wasn't necessarily expected, but all of a sudden, you'd ridden 3 of the championship race winners. You were way ahead in the standings all of a sudden. I know there were a few surprises that year, but you were absolutely flying.
Yeah, 2017, I suppose, won the Champion Hurl and Bouvedere, Champion Chase, Special Tiara.
Was that Duvans?
Yes, that's right. He was mad favourite that day. And then I had... you know what I mean, Harry, for the Stairs Hurl, and he didn't quite turn up on the day, finished third, and he actually beat the winner at Punchestown in the Grade 1 over there on his next start. I think he probably wasn't quite right at Cheltenham, but he put the form right at Punchestown. But
and so hang on, was he was the one you'd have expected coming into it?
Yeah, like I probably would have fancied him more than the other 2 going into the race, and I think, to be fair, if he had been spot on the day, I think Harry found a little issue with him after the race and put that right, and he bounced back at Punchestown. But I think if he'd been probably quite right, he probably would have been hard to beat that day. And then Rob Manella Rock on the Gold Cup, finished second in the Gold Cup. So it could have been a great week. It was a good week, but it could have been a great week.
It could have been even better.
Yeah.
Tell me about Harry Fry then, and your association with Harry. And first of all, how fitting, I guess, it was that day at Newbury where you bowed out on a certainty. Look, I started riding Rock on Ruby for Harry, I suppose, even when he was assistant to Paul Nicholls, and he was training Rock on Ruby in the satellite yard. So that's kind of where it started, and I won the Champion Hurl on Rock on Ruby, and then Harry took out the licence on his own right, and kind of rode from there on, really, and with some great winners together, a couple of great seasons, and now we've got a very good mare with him as well. So he's training. He's got 4 for us now, training as well. So it's going continuing on. I remember somebody adamant that year that Rock on Ruby was going to win the Champion Hurdle.
Well, I think Harry Fry was anyway.
Was he? Yeah.
He was. I walked the track with him actually before racing, and he was so positive. It kind of rubbed off, but. Brilliant training performance to get him to win a Champion Hurl. And I always think he probably never got the recognition he deserved, and probably if there was one race I could get back to ride, it was the Champion Hurl the following season. He finished second in it. We put blinkers on him, and I'd love to re-ride that race again.
Who won it?
Hurricane Fly came back and won. And I think he probably never got the recognition he deserved. He was
Was
a
it
good
worse
horse.
ground that year? The second year?
Probably a little bit slower, yeah. But yeah, it's one I'd love to get back and have another go at. But he was a good horse, and yeah, Harry did a brilliant job training him.
But so you'd like to have put headgear on him, but you didn't.
No, he had headgear on.
Oh, he had headgear.
Yeah.
But you feel like you didn't get it spot on that time?
No, I don't think I got it spot on that day.
Is that what Harry said?
No, Harry, I don't think we've ever spoke about it after, but yeah, I felt there was going to be no pace. That's why we put blinkers on him, and he turned away from the stands, and I was trying to slow it down. Darryl was trying to speed it up, and I think the blinkers were probably making him go a bit quicker than we should have been going. And yeah, we went too fast in the middle of the race, and I think we set it up for Hurricane Fly.
So, but again, is that part of, do you think, you talk about being the underdog as opposed to being the reigning champion, and more is expected of you? Does that make it harder, do you think?
I don't think that had anything to do with it on that day. I think it was just the way it panned out. Hurricane Fly was, I think, probably sharp price favourite that year as well. He was sharp price favourite the year Rock on Ruby won it. I think he was probably sharp price favourite as well the following year. But look, it's gone now. There's no point looking back. But
What?
there we go.
We're going to show you the race. We're going to do a hurdle hop. No, I'm joking. Yeah, you had plenty of successes. 27 Grade 1 winners. What was there an out and out most talented horse you rode? Not necessarily the best, but the most like that you sat on and went, wow, this guy. Maybe he's not going to turn out to be the best, but the talent here is unbelievable.
Probably the most talented. Could potentially one of the most talented horses I probably ever rode was a horse that got injured after a horse called Neon Wolf.
Yeah.
I think he was exceptionally good, but unfortunately he got fatally injured. But I think he could have been a Gold Cup horse of the future. But again, not been looking back. But yeah, I think he was quite good. But look, I was lucky to ride a lot of very good horses along the way. Mastermind was electric when he was very good on softer ground. Altior was electric. Bouvedere was a very, very good hurdler. Sylvia Conti was very, very good. Look, I was lucky to ride some very, very good horses.
Rode some decent ones, didn't you?
Yeah.
And career-wise, did they they came along a little bit towards the back end of the career for you?
Yeah, I suppose.
Why do you think that was?
I kept getting injured at the wrong time. It was just, I always seemed to pick up an injury at the wrong time, and when there was a good ride coming up, and it was frustrating in the middle of my career, and then I got a better run towards the end again, I suppose. But just niggly. I never probably picked up. I don't think I ever picked up a really serious injury. I broke my leg, broke my wrist, things like that. But they weren't serious injuries. They just they kept coming at the wrong time, sort of.
Yeah. See, I would consider broken bone pretty serious.
Yeah, but
if it happened to me, I'd be saying that's quite serious.
Run of the mill stuff as a jockey, right. I suppose. But yeah, I did my wrist. That was probably one that when I was due to ride Cato Star and the King George, a couple of weeks before, I did my wrist and dislocated it. Went back in. Actually, rode Masterminded a couple of weeks after putting it back in, and then it dislocated the second time, and it chipped a bit of bone off and damaged the ligaments the second time it came out, and then that kept me out for the rest of that season. And the following season, I think something else happened. I missed 2 Cheltenham Festivals, 2 years running. So
we've got to move on, and I could sit here and talk to you for ages. But one last thing I want: do you feel you were more injury prone or unlucky with injuries than other riders, and are some riders just more unlucky or more injury prone?
I don't think I was. I think it was just the injuries I got at the timing of them probably weren't great timing wise. I did a couple of tendon injuries which take longer. Like a broken bone will heal in 6 or 8 weeks, and you're nearly back on the main. Whereas tendon injuries and that, they take a bit longer. They were probably the ones that kept me out a bit longer. But that was just, I think, a bit unlucky. But I don't think I was any more injury prone than anyone else. No.
Right, you're not going anywhere. Don't worry. You get okay. To stay in, and we're going to look back at some of the feature action we enjoyed from Cheltenham yesterday, and plenty more. We'll take a pause.
Subscribe to Racing TV's YouTube channel now to watch more great races like this.